Welcome back, everybody. Some more Katowice action here on 2000 Atmospheres, bottom left-hand corner. The blue Protoss is currently spawning from Team Alpha X. It is Zoun, well, Zoun. Whatever. You can call him either way, guys. I think, maybe. On the top right-hand corner instead. Team NV instead. The man, the legend, it's Maru. What an interesting matchup it is. Some PvT action between two masters at a matchup. Of course, it will be weird not to say that Maru is the favorite here. Always seen Zoun go for some very interesting build orders, very interesting playstyle in this matchup, while still being able to play the by-the-book style that is often required, actually. PvT is one of those matchups in which you cannot, like, really jazz it too much. You have to be somewhat sticking to the usual plan on both sides. Sooner or later, you're gonna need ghosts for the Terran. Sooner or later, you're gonna need Stalkers and Colossi for the Protoss. Honestly, yeah, the Terran can do a little bit more weird stuff, but honestly, it always goes into Widow Mines, dropping from the sky, and pretty much that's it. That's always the go-to 5 minutes thing, and then you build something else from that, which is often just Bio. We've seen some experimentation with mech in the past. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But it's not something that I would expect out of Maru. Not at all. Seen some experimentation with early triple command center, but it doesn't really look like it's the case. With Maru building up a factory already. And Zoun instead getting his first adept out to gain a little bit of information. It's a Stargate opener on the side of Zoun. No Twilight Council for Stalkers yet. And he's also keeping the adept at home to stop the SCV from scouting before sending the adept out. Second adept incoming as well, of course. And Stargate opener can be both a little bit safer, and you can sometimes get some leverage out of Oracles, or maybe transition into Phoenixes as well later on, which is interesting alongside Colossi. This adept might have fed a little bit too uncarefully. It almost goes down to the 4 Marines out of Maru, no Reaper of course. But in the end, it's not gonna be his night. Maru is gonna be making more and more Marines. He's gonna start making some Widow Mines as well, but these Marines do want to get something done, maybe gain control of these watchtowers. We see the Oracle, of course, being produced first to try and get some control of the map, gain some vision as well. And the scouting information is much needed on the side of the Protoss player, especially on longer maps. Of course, the Twilight Council is going to be dropped as well. Always a good moment to get Blink. Stalkers can really go a long way in many different situations. The Oracle will fly past the Marines, which are actually moving out. Not the most defended base we have here on the side of Maru. Maru is gonna try to move the Widow Mines around to get some... Ooh, the shot! Okay, doesn't get the shot. Actually, that's a lot of dead SCVs so far. Almost gonna get a 4th one. He does get a 4th one. Actually, the Oracle still has a lot of energy. Oh, but the Widow Mine sneakily hiding in between the mineral patches, gonna get the snipe without killing any SCV. Well, on the other side of the map, the single adept cannot do too much against these many Marines. In the end, the probes with the citizen arrest and the shield body overcharge will get it done. 3 of them are going to die as well as the adept. But in the end, this is going to be the end of the push of Maru. Widow Mines are gonna be the next thing. This Medivac is actually in a little bit of an off spot. It looks like Maru is going to be trying to drop down everything he can. The Widow Mines are not in the best spot. It looks like the Medivac will go down and no single probe will be killed. The Widowmine over here is gonna try and get away. All these Widowmine over here are still sneaking in. Oracle is going to drop down, second Oracle, gonna drop down a Revelation to stop this Widowmine from getting a shot on the production of Zoun, who's actually gonna start placing a couple spotting pylons even there. Maybe even reinforce this position for a follow-up. And that defense from Zoun was very clean. Yeah, I'm going between Zoun and Zoun a lot because I just forgot. I don't know how to be more honest than these guys. Sometimes I just forget to call him by his proper name. Oh, the Widowmine over here is gonna get a beautiful shot. And another Oracle is going down. Maru, master at placing these Widowmines in just the right spots. He's gonna get 2 Oracles down, which is actually pretty significant. You can see that's a pretty heavy expense on gas. But this is the real play out of the Protoss player. Last one ground weapons incoming. Blink is almost finished. That's a lot of Stalkers that are marching through the map. 4 more gateways are going to be dropped alongside the third Nexus. But Maru doesn't really have a lot for defense. He lost his initial medivac. He needed a Raven out for some reason. And he decided to switch the starport to get a tech lab on it, delaying probably steam and combat shields by a little while to get a Raven out, meaning no medivacs are out up until this exact moment. Blink is finished, and these Stalkers will try to get some value. The army of Maru is still pretty strong, but the map control that Zoun is going to establish in a little while is going to be much stronger. Concussive shells in the making after steam and combat shields were finished. There's not really much in the way of defense over here. Of course, charge is not done yet. These Stalkers are gonna try and catch reinforcements, but they cannot really bring the fight to the main army of Maru. Not yet, at the very least. That's a lot of zealots without charge. Charge not done yet. These concussive shells are gonna do a lot. It looks like a recall is gonna be issued by Zoun. Here comes the Widowmine shots. They're gonna be dodged with the blink. It looks like Maru is committing into the mineral line. The zealots are gonna eat the Widowmine shots. But the Raven dropping down the auto turrets is gonna bring so much value to this army that he didn't have before. 11 probes go down. That's a strong blow to the economy of Zoun. Even after clearing so much of the army of Maru, he's not really that close to being able to go for a counterattack. And here comes the Widowmines. Double the trouble onto these Stalkers who just blame forward. Stalkers trying to commit on top of the medivacs. They will get the kill. The Raven is still up and standing, still getting value. And these Widowmines have been absolutely obscene from Maru. Dirty burrowing down in the awkward spots that always catch Zoun. He spans down. Killing so many Stalkers as well. Here comes the Zealots from behind, from the proxy gateway. It looks like Maru might be in a little bit of a pickle. Another auto turret gets dropped down. These Zealots sure are tanking a lot of damage, and +1 ground weapons is helping a lot. But it doesn't really look like Zoun has enough to break through. Another SCV goes down. Still trying to gain value out of the plane Stalkers, and he definitely does so. Robotics facility incoming as well, robotics space, sorry, incoming as well to get that strong transition into Colossi. Of course, the early answer for Ghosts is going to be just the strongest thing possible in this matchup. EMP, crazy strong upgrade, and of course, well, not upgrade, like what? Shockwave EMP is a strong upgrade. See the Stalkers still trying to get something done. Concussive shells are gonna help a lot in shooing these Stalkers away. Looks like a couple Zealots are gonna be stranded a little bit in this bottom right hand corner. And Zoun still trying to fight head on. Doesn't really manage. Maru is sending a very strong army ahead. And even without the upgrade, these Ghosts are still gonna have Shockwave EMP. Well, not Shockwave, are still gonna have EMPs. And even though the range is not big enough, it's still gonna be very strong compared with Widowmines. The force fields are very good. They don't lock a lot of the army of Maru out though. The Blink Stalkers are gonna try and dodge these Widowmine shots. But the rest of the army of Maru is coming in again. And there's so many Marauders that are just absolutely annihilating the Stalkers. As you can see, the Zealots are not tanking enough. They're not charging fast enough against Concussive Shells. The Medivacs are out of energy. So is the Raven. But the value they got is absolutely insane. Here comes the Disruptor. The signature unit of Zoun. But it's not gonna be enough. Maru takes game number 1. We're on Curious Minds for our second set of this series here in the bottom right hand corner. The Red Terran is currently spawning. Currently at match point. It is NV Maru. His opponent in the blue instead, heading from Korean South, playing for Alpha X. He needs 2 in a row. Can he do it? Against the master himself, it's Zoun. Definitely not as big as, ooh, I like this, as big as 2000 Atmospheres is Curious Minds. That doesn't mean it's an easier map to attack into. Lots of choke points, lots of side blockers, lots of ramps. It's risky to walk in the middle of this map. I really like this out of Maru. Trying to shake Zoun a little bit. It's panic time. Zoun looking around the main base for a Rex. He's just not there. Now that he realizes he's gonna try and send his probe out to look for it. And we have the core before the Nexus, which is sometimes seen as a precaution, but now Zoun is gonna immediately spot this. And no real danger is coming his way. Now he knows he's just gonna relax for a little bit, back to this macro plan without too much of a defensive hustle. Second pylon back home. Zoun isn't up to no good himself. It's a Stalker first. So still a little bit of let's say just respect to the aggression that Maru can pull off without the Adept. Of course, he's not gonna move that Stalker out of his base. He's gonna keep it home. But of course, without the Adept, he's not really going to get a lot of scouting information. And that can matter. The Stalker is gonna head back home, try to kill the Reaper before he gets out. And he doesn't really manage to do so. These things are covered in butter, I swear. Slippery as it is, Maru didn't get a single kill, just got a lot of vision about what is going on. Now Tower Council is going to be dropped down by Zoun and back to basics. By the book, build orders without a Stargate. Here we have a Cyclone out of Maru. That is not by the book. Not what you would expect. Not in this scenario at least. Cyclones in this stage of the game are just mostly seen as defensive units. They're really extremely good at disrupting any amount of cheeses of early pushes. And they're just very good for defense in that regard, in the way they can easily trade themselves for 2 or 3 units without really putting their lives in danger and just creating a lot of space between the 2 armies. That is not something you can do aggressively. You cannot really try and create space with a Cyclone if you tuck into your opponent. You can try and get a little bit of harassment and just try to move your opponent's army out of position, but that is looking more and more like just a defensive Cyclone. The Reaper is gonna scout over here. Probably Maru was a little bit afraid not seeing an early Stargate or Twilight Council, and he was expecting some kind of proxies. So he decided to make a Cyclone, but now I think he knows that this Cyclone will just never get anything done. Maybe even try to blind counter Stargate. That's another good reason. But it's nothing of the things that Zoun is doing right now. Blink Stalkers are not really too much afraid of a Cyclone. They can just blink on top of it or blink away and drop the lock on. So that's a lot of lost time for Maru on that. And Zoun is just gonna move his army out again. Another... This is definitely not a spotting pylon. This is a pylon made to have a gateway close to it and get some proxy units. Zoun decided to play a little bit more proactively, maybe cutting a couple corners, gets an early third nexus without an explosion of gateways that you would expect out of a third nexus being placed down by the Protoss player. We do have instead a robotics bay being made, with this robotics facility not really being producing anything yet. That's the second observer out, you probably need like 3. Oh, here comes a blink forward trying to get a snipe on top of the Cyclone, but of course that is never going to happen, not with this amount of Stalkers out. Charges in the making. Here comes the explosion of gateways at last, but Maru is looking forward to make a move himself. Blink is still available. Lock-on gets blocked, gets dropped immediately. The army of Maru is strong enough, but you can see that Cyclone doing absolutely nothing. Huge waste of time and resources on the side of Maru, and these Stalkers are gonna slow down the army of Maru for a long while before he can move out, while getting a couple kills here and there and forcing a lot of energy out of these medivacs. You can see the crazy amount of value that Blink Stalkers get in this matchup when they're used to stop the advance of the early bio army. You can see unit after unit after unit after unit, snapping them one by one. And with a shield battery back home and a Colossus as well, Maru didn't manage to drop in time for Zoun to be defenseless. The shield battery is about to be finished. A couple Stalkers are definitely going to die, but these Colossus, such an insane value. And these Stalkers need to be proud of themselves. They stopped the advance of Maru for such a long time, enabling the robotics facility to produce that one Colossus who was so clutch in that defense. Observers are going to spot the army of Maru moving on the top side, while Zoun is sending a couple zealots out. Charge just finished. Extended thermal lance halfway through, more and more gateways being popped down by Zoun. Maru is gonna scan ahead and look for a moment to strike in, but he realizes the army of Zoun is in perfect position. Third command center actually gonna be delayed for Maru, if not actually almost killed. The power of 2 zealots, killing that one SCV just at the right moment. Zoun outsmarting Maru so far. Not an easy task. But there's still a long way until Zoun can close out this game. The Weta Mines are gonna get their shots or not. Blinking away, more zealots gonna be warped in at the proxy location, being sent actually on top of the reinforcements and the economy of Maru. That's a little bit of a problem for the Terran player, who's now in a little bit of a bad spot, I would say. These zealots actually getting insane value out of that proxy. 7 SCPs going down and multiple units. Finally the bunker gets used, but not until so much has been slowed down for Maru. His push so far not looking as strong as it was looking a little while before, and with a Warp Prism incoming, Zoun can also start to go for a multi-prong. Looks like his gateways will be spotted. Yes, it will be spotted in the end, this gateway over here. But with a Warp Prism, you don't really need these anymore. And these, I think it did already a lot of damage. So this is a very bruised command center, which is currently being repaired by Maru. But a couple SCVs are also going to be sniped down. The gateway is still standing over here. Just needed to be powered up. Maybe by the Warp Prism itself, who knows. It looks like a single Marine is gonna be sent out. The Warp Prism is in the bottom. Gonna be making a couple Zealots and having a couple more inside its shuttle form. moving out. Looking for a good moment to drop in. Waiting for his army to start clashing with the one of Maru. And trying catching his opponent by surprise. That's always the double up move. Zealots in the main, completely uncontested, more and more being warped in. Meanwhile, the main army of Zoun is gonna be sent in lots of Vikings to counter the Colossi. But this is not looking very good for Maru, it's looking grim. Shockwave EMP, so close to being denied. Unanswered shockwaves, indeed. It's gonna be denied. The Warp Prism chased down by the Viking, but it's gonna be flying away fast enough. Plus the ground weapons, as well as so many disruptors. Going to Bleed produce the Ghost walk into their depths. And now it's up to these disruptor shots to zone away the army of Maru, while Zoun wreaks some havoc wherever Maru has his strength on. Oh, the charge on top of everything. Here comes the disruption Novas eating the jackpot. The Vikings are gonna try and go for a surround, and they will manage to get on top of the Colossi, but not before the rest of the army of Maru has been completely annihilated. Now it's Stalkers against Vikings, and that never ends well for the Vikings. Zoun still has to deal a little bit more damage. He denied so much out of Maru. He still has this Warp Prison. So many Stalkers out to kill the Vikings with the disruptors. The rest of the ground army of Maru is left scattering around. It doesn't move fast enough. And here comes the Disruption Nova on top of the SCVs, on top of the Vikings. And it's a little bit of a disaster for Maru. GG gets called. The score is tied. We're going on Hardwire for our last set of this best of three. It's do or die here in the bottom left hand corner from Team Alpha X. It's Zoun. His opponent in the red, and I'm gonna speed run this because I see something on the map. From Team NV, it's the Terran, Maru. Yeah, this SCV, just let me check something, right? Where is it going? Just want to... Yeah, definitely gonna be a scout, yeah? Rex gonna be dropped down by Maru. A little bit of a proxy. And where's the scouting probe? Here it is. Zoun. It's actually checking for proxies. Oh, I think he's gonna find out. Yeah. Perfect scouting by Zoun. He's gonna immediately find out what is going on. Of course, this proxy is never gonna finish. Gonna be broken. Maru will look for... actually, maybe try to block the Nexus? I don't know. Yeah, it's an early scouting SCV. You're not gonna get any information on this. Yeah, it's probably just out there to get a block on the Nexus. Here comes the NG Bay. Zoun reacting actually with 3 probes to stop this. Of course, it's gonna be meaning that he's not gonna delay his Nexus by too long. Actually, he's gonna be delaying it by very little, like seconds. As you can see, like literally seconds. Meanwhile, Maru, by doing this, delayed his own command center by a little bit. Not by much. As you can see, he's gonna be dropping it down right now, avoiding it to be blocked by Zoun with pilots and the likes of it. So Marine first, of course. No real time for Reapers. And both players didn't really lose much, if anything. It was just a little bit of posturing behind, well, around each other. So, not much to be said about this early game. It could have been much more deadly for either side. Zoun really likes sneaking pylons around, does he? It's the third pylon if he places one right here. So, it's nothing to... wow, what a crazy play. It's not gonna just proxy a Stargate or Robo. Gonna try to do again what he has been doing in the previous 2 games with that proxy gateway, sneaking a couple units into the natural of Maru. And honestly, in game 2, doing quite a lot of work. Zoun is gonna be sending his Adept out, knowing he's not really too afraid of Reapers. He's gonna look for a moment to send the shade in. And maybe get a little bit of information. Supply depot goes up. The scout will not, the adept will not complete the shade. Another shade goes in. And another depot goes up. Still checking on the production of these wrecks. Still a useful thing. Meanwhile, back home, Link is in the making, and again, you see Maru going for the Cyclone, being extra defensive, extra careful around Zoun. And the Cyclone in the previous game didn't get any value at all. Might be different this time. I wouldn't place my bets on it. I explained before why I don't really like this, and I still stand true to my opinions. I do feel like last game there was a huge expense. Mostly of time, honestly. That's a huge loss of time. But right here, what do we have? We're gonna have an early Raven. We're not gonna have a lot in the way of harassment. But having an early Raven and having a lot of Marine production is still gonna be good. Like, you're not gonna risk anything. The Blink Stalkers are always gonna be out there in time to slow down your push. And we've seen Maru's Raven in game number 1 being actually pretty deadly. Like, those other turrets gained so much value throughout that game. Like, an outstanding amount of value. And energy units, they do be like that. Sometimes they do absolutely nothing, but some games, they generate an insane amount of value. Ferrax incoming for steam and combat shields. While the starport is gonna move around, drop down the reactor, and start producing some medivacs. While back home, Zoun again with his... Oh wow, whoa, that's a little bit different. I thought he was going to go for the Robo Bay again, but instead it's Templar Archives. Early Storm, it's a lot of cutting corners. It scales so much better into later stages of the game. It scales so good into great armies. And of course it works so well against medivacs. And sometimes against ghosts too, if you get a head start and you manage to not get annihilated by the EMP. Feedback has a lot of range, as did the last buff they got. Bunker goes down actually without retaliating. That's pretty good. Link is down, Storm is in the making. Oh, the Raven a little bit too ahead of itself. Zoun almost got a couple shots onto that. His observer is gonna try and move around to stay out of Maru's sight. And it actually is. Zoun sending more Stalkers in, trying to get some more kills. Doesn't manage to kill a couple Marines, but not much more. Wasting a little bit of energy. His units are pretty bruised too, though. Charge. Halfway through, Warp Prism, of course, to move around those High Templars and drop storms on the fly. Again, another couple shots before the Stalkers blink away. Combat shields and steam are gonna be finishing. Alongside infantry weapons, the last one, a fur base from Maru is on the way as well. A single Stalker will be killed by the Cyclone, who is gonna take a lot of punishment as well. Zoun doesn't really have a strong defense. There's a couple High Templars getting energy here with Storm just being finished. And he needs to be very precise with those storms, because that's all he has for defense. The Raven almost goes down. A little bit of a crazy blame forward out of that one single Stalker charge. Almost through. Archons are there for defense as well. These adepts scouting forward will be immediately sniped. Here comes a beautiful interference matrix, but the Raven will sacrifice his life for it. And there was still one High Templar on the ground, ensuring a storm gets through and stops the attack of Maru. Clutch move on both sides. Zoun was just a little bit quicker, dropping down his own High Templar. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the proxy getting heads yet again, with 6 SUVs falling down to Zealots run by. Here comes a Widowmine drop. Maru has a lot of Widowmines. Like, a lot of Widowmines. It's 7. Like, these Widowmines are sooner rather than later gonna get some value. And sometimes it's a couple probes, sometimes it's a couple zealots, sometimes it's a blink being used, sometimes it's High Templars. And in the hands of a skilled player such as Maru, is gonna become so much more difficult for Zoun to walk into the map. Oh, this medivac needs to be extra careful with it. Oh my goodness. Yikes. That's a lot of damage. Enhanced shockwaves in the making for Maru. But losing that full medivac with 4 Widow Mines sure does hurt. So I'm gonna try to be scouting around with Zealots. This Cyclone is still over here up and standing. It's going to catch the Zealots moving out. So Maru is not gonna be off position. Actually gonna drop down a lock-on. Yeah, it is. This Cyclone is gonna survive. Here comes the charge. Here goes the Cyclone. But Zoun's Zealot run by is gonna be completely scouted. Gonna miss his opportunity to strike with it. Maru's still looking for a way past the defenses of Zoun, which are honestly quite strong as of now. Immortals being put in the mix as well. With a little bit of a Immortal Charge Lot Archon with some Stalkers to defend against the Medivacs drop and try to snap down key units. Of course, with the High Templars being added into the mix early on for those storms, Maru didn't really have a way to get anything in the way of offense. But he cut a lot of corners himself. He's gonna have... Actually, like this is... Yeah, it's a 4th base incoming from Maru. As well as enhanced shockwaves already being finished. And lots of ghosts already on the field. That's 6 ghosts that have already been produced. Even before extended thermal lance was actually finished. A couple storms get dropped down by Zoun before Maru can react too much. Not really gonna get much done. Just forced a lot of energy out of these medivacs. Zoun is gonna be trying to find a good spot to defend. Again, it's a lot of posturing. With Zoun dropping down his 4th base and saturating it over here. Maru still a little bit of a long way before he can do that. His army is gonna steam forward. Here comes the EMPs. Oh my goodness, those were jackpots. High Templars were not even remotely close. All of the shield battery juice will be used on top of the Colossi to keep them topped. But the Archons are suddenly losing a lot of value into these engagements. These Zealots instead, they're the ones who are gonna be hurting less from the shockwaves. Center from a lance being finished means a lot for Zoun being able to attack from further away, keep his army a little bit more spread. Here comes a little bit of a run by in a very off spot over here to this freshly done. Oh my god, the storms! The command center is in trouble. Here comes more and more reinforcements out of Zoun. Here goes the shockwave EMPs decimating the shields out of Zoun. But this base is now looking healthy. It will probably be forced up into the skies. Meanwhile, no more storms available for Zoun. But it did so much damage. All of the energy out of these medivacs will be used, and 7 SCVs will be killed as well. More and more units are gonna be warped in Zoun, mainly making Zealots. This War Prism is in troubles. It will go down, probably forcing Zoun back for a bit. Double scan, I'm gonna spot the observer. Maru still looking for a little bit more damage onto that army with more EMPs. While Zoun is getting his transition. Ghosts pretty much make High Templars a little bit obsolete in the way they can drop shockwave EMPs. High Templars drop their storms and they pretty much cancel each other, forcing both armies to move backwards. These Raptors though, those Novas do chase units fast, they don't just stand still. Oh, right now these Vikings though are gonna make the life of the Colossi hell, and the Stalkers are gonna be chased down with Shockwave, reducing their health pretty much to nothing. A single well-placed storm will keep the army of Maru from marching too forward. That's a lot of zealots into this run by. Most of the army of Maru is going to be sent around circles, chasing down these zealots. The single ghost does survives, but I wish I could say the same about these SCVs. A lot of them are gonna be dying, and it looks like in the end it's 11 kills confirmed by Zoun. While moving in the rest of his army, they recover their shields. That's a choke point you don't want to fight in. Here comes the Novas, but they will not eat too much. Purification Nova number 2, whiffed again. Zoun moving around. These are Shadow Stride Dark Templars. They can get in and blink out. Will Maru find a way to defend against those, or will they get a lot of value? Missile turret is up there, meaning that of course the planetary fortress is gonna be defending itself. Here comes a Widowmine shot! Oh, the Shadow Strike forward trying to get this planetary fortress killed, but it doesn't manage. Zoun is gonna lose such an insane amount of resources. Those were 7 Dark Templars immediately slain. Actually 10 Dark Templars immediately slain by Widowmine's planetary fortress, and a couple units as well. Zoun losing so much gas into that single trade, and now Maru dropping down to 5th base. So many command centers and orbiter commands. Zoun is gonna be dropping his own 6th base, but this is looking oh wow, that Widowmine should have never got that shot. More and more Shockwave EMPs are trying to stop the army of Zoun from getting too forward, and of course those Widowmine shots being so weird are also gonna manage to do that. Such awkward spots for those Widowmines hitting Zoun when he least expects it. +3/+3 kicking in, and of course it's time for Liberators, Liberator range, and a couple nukes being put in the mix as well. More and more command centers being dropped down by Maru to have even more scans, even more map control. Widowmines are gonna be forcing Maru behind for a little while. That's so many disruptors. Oh, here comes a Shockwave, depleting the energy of all of the disruptors, but Maru needs a little bit more than just that. Like, sure, Medivac speed, I guess. That's as good as a moment as any, I guess. Rock gonna be broken down by Zoun, who wants a fast way to retreat if things go south. Both players are really trying not too hard to kill each other. Flame Beacon gonna be dropped down, as well as 7 more gateways. We have a Warp Prism trying to find its way into the main. Of course, he's not gonna manage. Here comes the nuke. Killing a Photon Cannon. Getting a little bit of value, yes, but not too much. Well, that's a lot of Dark Templars. That's a lot of Dark Templars. These Ghost still has a lot of energy. He can go at it on top of this Prism pretty much forever. Oh, but the Dark Templars are gonna stop the rest of the army of Maru from catching up. They will try to move out. Oh, these are uncloaked. Just blink forward and kill it. Come on, Zoun, do it! Do it! He manages to keep his senses. Meanwhile, the rest of the army of Zoun hitting over here. Another Widowmine shot probably got on top of the Zealots. This planetary absolutely doing marvelous job, as well as the Liberators, at keeping this army away. A Disruptor dies pretty much for nothing. Here comes more and more Purification Novas. They're gonna try to kill the command center, but they're not gonna do much. Meanwhile, where are the Dark Templars? They all died. Somewhere, somewhat. Sensor tower goes down. There's another sensor tower in between the natural and the third. Well, it's more like the 6th, but yes. These Liberators marching forward are making the life of Zoun a little bit hellish, and you can see these Disruptors not surviving, besieging up the Liberation Zones. 3 Tempests in the making. Zoun doesn't have upgrades for those Tempests. He only has +1 air weapons. that are still gonna be absolutely mandatory at keeping these Liberators at bay. You can see actually some blinks being used aggressively to try and stop this from doing too much damage. Meanwhile, the Dark Templars finally get their revenge with 20 SCVs being killed. Will Maru bite back? It definitely looks like it. This base really doesn't have a lot of time staying alive yet. Meanwhile, the Tempests are gonna try to kill as many Liberators as possible, but the Nexus is gonna go down indeed. Dark Templars looking for another base to snipe. It's time to try and kill the Planetary Fortress. Can they do it? They will try to kill the missile turret instead. The rest of the army of Maru is moving backwards. Meanwhile, the Dark Templars still alive, still going at it, still killing more and more SCVs. And they will manage to kill SCVs and the missile turrets. Shockwave being used to stop these Dark Templars from being cloaked. They will try to move away. And they will be cloaked again, not before another Shockwave EMP dropped. But Zoun is gonna try and hit on the bottom right this time. The Planetary Fortress, will it survive? That's so much DPS going over it. And so many SCVs are gonna be dying as well. Zoun might be losing a little bit too many of his own units, but he's striking so strong in so many different locations. The economy of Maru is not looking good at all. It doesn't really need a lot of gas. But that gas bank is gonna deplete so quickly if Zoun keeps on improving his own army. Lots of Archons, lots of Tempests. I've seen even a couple carriers in the production tab. The army of Zoun is really scary. You can see the Liberators getting close. The EMPs hitting the whole of the army of Zoun. And this is a disaster for the Protoss player. This is never what he wanted to fight on. Those EMPs being the absolute MVPs of this fight. So many Vikings killed him, the Tempests and the Colossi, and now he's just by against a couple Immortals and Stalkers. There's one Disruptor. What can a single Disruption Nova do? Not enough, says Maru, while striking down at this Nexus. Maru with a perfect fight will turn the tide back to its favor, and Zoun doesn't look clean enough. This storm was absolutely massive in the way of defense, but he's gonna lose the high tempo for that. So many Stalkers being produced, blinking forward, trying to kill the Vikings. And the Dark Templars with Shadow Strike trying to make this trade even. Both players losing so much. Zoun still has a lot of gas in the bank, but he lost so many key units. So many units that take so long to be reproduced. And as you can see over here, these ghosts are still getting value. Disrupt is gonna be slowed down by the concussive shells. Meanwhile, Shadow Strike Dark Templars are gonna hit yet at another base and get so many kills they're gonna be later morphed into Archons probably. Recall gets issued by Zoun, destroying yet again the economy of Maru. The economy of the Terran player is in absolute shambles. This game is anyone's to take. Who will win? The better economy or the better army? It's looking so close. Maru still has a lot of medivac, still has ghosts out on the field, still has a lot of marauders. He still has enough to support a little bit of production. But Zoun is gonna be slowly but steadily taking control of the game if Maru doesn't do something right here, right now. That's so many Archons, so difficult to get a head attack onto them. Maru needs the perfect EMPs. Oh, these Dark Templars, they're in a deadly position. Shockwave might be used, but not before they Shadow Stride away. And Zoun taking yet another favorable trade, killing these two Widowmines in one shot. And can the Terran player do it? Sorry, the Protoss player do it. Two more command centers are currently under attack. These orbiters are not gonna survive. Both of them go down. Zoun marching up the ramp that leads into the natural. The sensor tower goes down. He's gonna be careful about it. He's gonna be trying to stop the base trade from happening. There's two Purification Novas leading the army of Maru straight into the jaws of the beast. Blinking forward, Zoun with the Archons catching up on the rest of the army. Maru running around in circles to try and dodge away the Purification Novas. But the army of Zoun is relentless. Blinking Stalkers blinking Dark Templars. The Shadow Strike Templars getting such an insane amount of value. So did the Shockwaves out of the Ghosts. But in the end, the key engagement is right here, right now. And Zoun will blink forward to a sweep of the army of Maru. Here comes the Liberators trying to making it even. The Purification Novas will not hit, but the Stalkers actually, this is a crazy playing forward over the Liberators getting so much damage. But here comes the Zealots to clean the rest of the Grand Army. Stalkers still standing, waiting for the right moment to blink forward yet again and kill the Liberator. They do exactly that. He's crazy madness. Zoun takes the series.